like being challenged.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. It's a very so I'm going to put this in it's going to get kind of into this religious world. I mean, we went to Catholic school together.
Yeah.
But I was watching this pastor who was talking about this a little bit, and he was like, God challenges you through your foes. And I took that more of anybody that you're speaking with that is not on the same wavelength as you, or that it challenges you in any way, is working you to take a lesson from that.
Make you better.
Yeah, make you learn. And you will always be I've seen so many recurring themes and recurring lessons that I did not get the first time, or did not sink in well enough the first time, where I'm you look back and you went, what happened here? And it happened here, and there's a lot of parallels in those.
Yeah.
So I'm I need to learn it either now, or it's going to happen again, and it's going to be the same result. So I either have to change something up and accept the challenge, learn my lesson, and put it to the test, and make myself a better person for me, or I'm just going to keep falling into that cyclical lesson that I just can't learn because I'm just ignorant to it. So I've been having people in my life who have been, either they have been doing that knowingly, or I have shaped my mind to believe that that's what the case is. And it's turning me into a better person. And I think that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I can cut out all the rest and be whether it was because they knew, or whether because I
interpreted it.
I figmented that into my own interpretation.
Yeah.
And they really didn't know. The result is still going to lead me to the path that I'm supposed to go down. So I really enjoy that aspect of things in that sense, just because it helps me to be it's a win-win situation, because if they did know, then I am even more thankful for them.
Yeah.
If they didn't know, I'm still thankful because they helped me see what I was supposed to see. Even though they didn't do it knowingly, the fact that they were able to trigger something within my premise, within myself, that goes, oh wow, I need to work on that aspect, or oh wow, I've really been neglecting this. And man, I've been talking about weightlifting a lot with people. I've just been such a niche thing to talk about. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, but I was saying it's hard to have this conversation with people because I have decent knowledge about weightlifting.
And some people are just at surface level, or they have no knowledge.
They don't. They're not into it, right? I would say probably less than 10% of the U.S. actually exercises.
Yeah.
And within that 10%,
only some of it is actual lifting.
2% are very dedicated to it. So I'm part of that. I would like to be in that 2% range, and I have that knowledge where I can start talking. And I'm not the most knowledgeable. I can always tell you that by fact. But I know some things, and I love discussing that with people. But where I'm surrounded by is not a lot of people who are into that realm. And I'm part of that 10% realm too. I like talking about just exercise in general.
Yeah.
Whatever's trying to better your life in that realm of exercise, or even nutrition, whatever that case may be. I love talking about that shit. That's my bread and butter. But not a lot of people are like that. And I work in an industry where...
where people aren't thinking about it, or they don't care about it.
That's the last thing on their mind right now.
I mean, you still have people like TJ who still work out and they still go to the bar or whatever, but
at the same time, when they go to the bar, they're not trying to talk about weightlifting. Yeah. They're not trying to talk about physique or bodybuilding or exercise.
Or their routine or what plan they're on or what they eat.
And I'm the only one that would really be down to literally have a drink and be yeah, let's talk about this and that, let's talk about exercise. I fucking eat, sleep, and breathe that shit at this point.
I feel I'm surprised. I feel like people our age, at least, and younger, probably care more about it than people older. But
yeah, well, it's a different realm. When we're at our age, you can again, I go to a gym that's very power lifter, bodybuilder oriented. I was having a conversation with a friend about this, and there's a bunch of different gyms for different environments and atmospheres. So the one that my brother goes to is more of a community gym. So everyone's all into the community, and they all say hi to each other and they're all cool and
they're like
they
social
all
and
talk.
stuff.
Yeah, they socialize with each other, and that's awesome. That's cool. I'm just not into it with that because that's not my goal. My goal is to get super strong. My goal is to fucking just get in there and fucking do my shit and get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And the gym I go to, everyone kind of has that same mindset where they're like, let's lift heavy, let's do our exercise, let's do what our program is, and I'm out. And I've found a bunch of friends who are into the same shit as me, who are trying to lift heavy fucking weight and trying to power lift and just keep building on their PRs.
Yeah.
And lifting with correct form and finding whatever techniques can help and looking at, like unilateral exercises or like compound movements that'll help you with your bench, squat, deadlift. And I throw in Olympic lifts in there too. And like, it's like a lot of trial and error in there, but we're all little gym rats trying to experiment in finding what's best for us. And then we share on that. That's when we talk. It's not like, oh, dude, you going out on Friday, Saturday?
Oh, yeah. It's just like, I tried this new workout this week. It worked. It helped me out or something.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine who was telling me to do a deload week. And I was kind of skeptical because I don't like to turn it off. I'm always, go, go, go. And I kind of hit a wall. And I was talking to another lifter, a friend of mine at the gym I go to. And I was like, yeah, I was thinking of deloading sometime. I just don't know when. And he's like, fuck, that's a great idea. I need a deload. I've been plateauing, and I feel like my strength has been dropping. And I was like, oh, maybe I should deload a little sooner too, because I feel like I'm fatiguing out. And so I was like, same thing. Like I've been working on my core, specifically my obliques is probably my weakest point right now. And I was doing side bends, and the same friend was like, hey, do you want a workout that'll target your obliques for actual powerlifting, help you brace those? It's actually a really good one. And he showed me, and I felt that. I felt the engagement that I was expecting, and I was like, that's going into my program now.
Yeah. I'm
gonna use that. Thank you. So we do shit like that all the time. That's what we talk about at that gym. My brother's gym, it's more of a community gym. 24-hour fitness, that's an all-around gym, right? Planet Fitness, I don't talk about Planet Fitness. I'm very none. But I was talking again, same friend. She was like, what?
I don't get how you go to a gym and they try to give you pizza, bro. That shit makes no sense.
That's the thing. I was like, my brother's gym is probably one of the best gyms in the area to go as a beginner because it's a community gym. Everyone's wanting you to hit your goals too,
and they'll be willing to spot you or whatever.
No one's really judging you in there. Everyone's just doing their thing, and everyone's starting to be you see all facets of everybody's progress. To my brother's, where he's more at the high caliber, to the guy who's starting out, everything in between.
Yeah,
powerlifter. There's powerlifters in there. There's bodybuilding people in there. There's just the high school gym bros in there. You see the all facets of gym life in there. So you can you get to find your identity, your gym identity, what your goals are, what you're focusing on. And so the gym I go to, it's very not that. It's not. I would say it's not a beginner gym. You're in there, and you're either in there to powerlift or you're in there to bodybuild. There's not really much in between. You'll get your stragglers who are just there because
that's the closest gym or something.
Yeah, that's just their convenient gym spot. But a lot of people in there are lifting heavy and are building their body and hitting they're isolating body parts. They're in.
And you could tell they've been doing it for years and have a routine.
It's definitely intimidating. Everyone's really solid. You're either really strong, big, like a strong man, or you're fucking just so jacked.
Shredded, yeah.
Jeez. So if you aren't ready for that atmosphere environment, it's not the spot for you. And I've talked to people about that at the bar who talked about gym stuff with me. They're like, yeah, AB is... And that's the initials of the place I go to. I don't feel like sharing the name of it. Right?
Yeah.
But AB is just so intimidating. Everyone's in there just cranked on weight.
But it depends though. Sometimes that can make you want to push yourself.
But that's why I love it. And that's why I can't go to the gym that my brother goes to because, everyone's doing their own thing. And I need the challenge. And I go in there, I see the people in the squat rack next to me, and they are pulling 405. 455, 500. or they're squatting 3-4 plates easy. And I look at that, I'm like, all right, I can't wait to be there.
Yeah.
And like I like to keep like my goal for me is to maintain my weight, but keep building my strength. Like I don't want to be
like bulking.
I don't want to be 200 pounds and being able to pull 500. I want to be what weight I am now and pulling 500. I think that's more magnificent than having to bulk up to pull more weight.
Yeah.
So it requires more technique. It requires more focus. It requires more like
Consistency
mental
and
aptitude.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like how much do I really want? The drive and the psychology behind lifting. And that's what I love about it, because it's not just challenging me physically, but it's challenging me mentally, and it's getting my emotions in check, and it's making sure I'm fucking on point every day. It's literally shaping my life into a better focused point. And then the beauty of that is I take that whole benefit and I start shifting it into everyday life. So like I was doing this I was benching, and I had another friend of mine that I made at that gym who has been a powerlifter for like 10. He's a retired powerlifter now, but he had been in that like wheelhouse for 10 years, so he knows a good deal of things. And I was benching, and I'd keep looking to my left and like really straining my neck. And he's like, "Don't do that. You have a spotter right here. I'm spotting you. Like, look straight up. Focus on a point. Like, just focus on a point, and everything else is muscle memory. You've done this movement millions of times. So just focus forward, keep your head locked in, and if that bar doesn't go up, I'm going to spot you. I know how to spot you." And I was like, all right, cool. And so I've noticed that. And he was like, the reason why you look to your left more is because that's your weak side. You have an imbalance. You need to fix that. I was like, oh, shit. This is all making sense. Like, it's all clicking now. I'm like, okay, so I got to work on that imbalance. Like, I got to start focusing forward and getting my spinal posture correct. And I was like, and just focusing helps me to maintain my attention span and my focus longer. I'm literally just staring at a point on the ceiling, and I'm just like, don't not move your eyes from that point. Like, your eyes are focused there. You're doing the lift. Like, everything's engaged. You're squeezing every muscle. Like, even though I'm staring at nothing right now, I'm really focused on what muscles are really fucking pushing themselves. Doing that, I find out what parts of my body need the most work to power my lifts. So like my triceps are more, I need to work on my triceps more. They're not up to speed compared to my chest and my upper back. My upper back can use some work in a bench press, because you know your lats you engage your traps and your rhomboids, and you're really pushing that shit up. You know, so I'm like, oh, I need to work on those. I need to engage my core, so everything is engaged in this exercise. And so now I take, again, that aspect, and I go, okay, I've been challenging myself, and now I'm starting to look at my weaknesses that are not causing me to be able to lift at the great strength that I can, because the weakest link is
how far you'll go. Much.
That's the chink in the armor. Like, until I fix that, nothing's gonna be like that's as strong as it's gonna be. Is your weakest point. So now I'm hitting areas, and I'm focusing on weaknesses. I take
doing like isolated stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I start doing accessories that'll help me with what I need to do to lift heavier. Again, I'll take that into my everyday life. I'm like, oh, so while I'm focusing on my strengths and getting stronger, I'm also targeting my weaknesses so I can build those up so they're less likely to be attacked. Whether that's personality-wise, whether that's, responsibility-wise, whether that's whatever you want to call it. Like, I try to look at that in my everyday life, and I go, okay, I want to work on that. That's an accessory I want to work on. Big picture, compound everything. Like, I want that to be the big picture. I want to strengthen everything at the same time. I need to get my core up to speed. I need to get my mindset up to speed. I need to get my good attitude up to speed, because that's my weak link, right? Same thing. And I take that from the gym to every day.
Yeah.
But, this was a really good conversation yesterday I had with this power lifter friend of mine. But yeah, like, I love when people challenge me, whether it's mentally or physically or just all around. Like, I've been putting myself around people who have, and I just mentioned this early on in this episode, who have challenge me, and I don't know whether they know they're challenging me
or is that just them?
Yeah, or whether they're just like that's just who they are, and I've turned it into.
Or they just like have their shit together, and that kind of rubs off on you. Or like you just look at that, and it like makes you want to get your shit together.
That's the thing is you don't have to have your shit together to challenge someone else.
Yeah,
it could be an accident that you triggered someone's. Wow, that's challenging me, and I need to step it up. Nice, like you hit that chink in my armor, and now I know I have a chink in that armor. Time to fucking reinforce it.
It's like when someone says something and makes you really think, or like re-question like how you went about something, or look back at the way you're going about things.
Yeah, or you could bring it to a smaller example of like when someone says something and you get triggered with anger, and you're like,
and you go back into seeing why.
Yeah, and you go, why did I let that get the best of me? And you go, okay, I need to work on that. And then you can divulge into it.
You find like the root cause, and then like try to like clean that up, and then eventually build up.
At least that's how you should do it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say should. You do it however you want to. That's what's working for me. Like that happens with my dad sometimes. He'll say something out of pocket, and I'm just like, it'll just get me really frustrated and upset, and I'm just like, why did I let that little comment like snark me so bad? I was like, I could have just brushed it off, or I could have just ignored it, or I could have just like, I could have handled it in a better situation. So I should be more conscious about that, but at the same time, not overly conscious about it.
Yeah.
Not be like, okay, when's the next time he's gonna say it? No, I gotta keep living life the way it is, keep vibing. But if it happens again, like take a pause, recognize, and then plan it, like have a better plan of attack for it.
So that way you say like more even keeled.
Yeah. So funny thing is we were talking about this. I was getting into we were talking about this off air, but I was getting into like I'm very much so more of a traditionalist. And I use that word maybe in my own context of terms. So how I define that is like I like old school gentlemen I have a progressive idea to it too. I'm not like super like I have to pay for the bill all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm holding the door all the time. But I really like to work towards that. I think that is just something
like chivalry.
Yeah, I call it gentlemanly now.
Yeah.
Because like chivalry is cool, but like I'd rather call it just being a gentleman. So like I try to take those things into as far as I can, and I slip up every now and then. But like again, I know in dates or hanging out with friends or even with family, like people like to pay, and paying all the time can put out a certain energy or vibe, or like you can really even put you down because like I've been on dates where I've been paying the whole way, and I just kind of feel like I'm like
you're carrying it.
I'm like, why do I have to pay for everything? But
like what value are you
adding? Nature, it's like that. So I'm just like, okay, I'm very flexible, I guess. I'm very flexible, but if I had the choice, I would probably want to pay. That's just how I am. I like doing that. It's just who I am. And I'm like, I think, and that's so. And I brought this up a few times in the last week to different people, but I was watching this like YouTube short of this woman who the caption was like she married this high value man, and it was like her friend asked her like, how'd you do it? She was like, oh well, I'm just like more of an old school type woman who likes to stay at home, cooks and cleans. Like that's my job, that's my role in the household. Like I take care of the kids, I make sure that he's fed, I do all those things. I wash the dishes, I do the laundry, and it kind of got a bad rap because it just like, I mean, if you know the progressive movement, it's all about like
equality
and women,
or like there's no gender roles in terms of like who cooks or who cleans
too, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, like if the woman wants to go that path, like why stop her? That's the path she wants. That's the same thing, right? She has her choice, and she chose that path. Those are the women I'm more interested in. And the way I see it now is like that's their job. Like in a sense, and I don't mean this in any misogynistic way, but like when you fall in love with someone and that's the kind of relationship you want to build, you almost essentially are hiring them to be a mother, to be a wife, right? That's what you're hiring them for. And I put hire in quotation marks, because it's just a very broad way of putting it. It's just an easier way to think about it, right? Because while they're not really getting paid for what they're doing, they are, because you are providing for them. You are the
You're allowing them to live the lifestyle.
In terms of economics,
yeah.
But they are providing a service that, man, if I had to do all of that
and
still work,
yeah, it'd be tough.
It's just a lot. It's just so much already. And I wouldn't have enough time for myself anymore. Or it would just be so much to try and fit everything in that one bubble. So, yeah, I'm more into that sense. I've started thinking about it like that now. And again, with loose terms around it. And it's made me think a lot more about building my own value to provide that kind. Because, like, if that's how I want to, if that's the kind of person I'm going to look for and find, then I need to build my own value enough to be able to get to that lifestyle to provide what I just spoke of.
Yeah.
Right. That means I'm going to have to make enough to provide for at least two people.
Maybe 3, depending if you have kids or whatever.
Right. And that's, yes, exactly. And that's not even speaking on the kids. So for me, that's why I've been going to the gym so often. I've been trying to get my head straight because I have this mantra I've been telling myself: strong mind or strong body creates a strong mind. You know, going back to weightlifting just a bit, like, again, talking to this friend, they were like, I was like, oh, I like stressing myself, but within moderation. Like, anything in excess is bad for you.
Yeah.
So excessive stress. So I used to have kidney problems because I'm pretty sure they were unable to diagnose it for me. But I'm pretty sure I was just stressed out of my mind, and my body was just shutting itself down because it couldn't handle the loads of stress I was putting upon it. And I was talking like mental stress, like not even physical. Like, I was just putting myself into that state.
Not in the right headspace.
And my body was literally shutting itself down. And so I was like, no, I don't mean that kind of stress. Like, yes, I think you need to stress your mind out enough at a moderate level because that creates growth. Your muscles and your muscles only grow because you're stressing your central nervous system and those muscles to take on a heavier workload than you're already providing. So, like, when you're squatting or when you're deadlifting, like, you're lifting weight that your body is not quite used to, or that is stressing it out. You're literally physically stressing your body out, and that creates growth. So how do you create growth? Stress. Now, if you do it in too much, you can cause injury. You can start hurting yourself, like, you can start causing problems within yourself. But if you do it at the right level with the right flow, like, it creates a magnificent growth within you. And I take that as, like, if I'm stressing my body physically, right, and literally stressing my central nervous system by lifting heavy weight, I think I'm sharpening my mind, stressing my mind in the right way, and it's providing me mental fortitude. And by doing that, now I'm starting to create high value. Or I'm starting to plant the seeds to create high value. Because now I'm more focused. Now I can focus in on things. Now I have more confidence in myself. Now I have a backbone. I can start speaking up for myself and not feel like I have to cower behind someone or something. Like, it's not that I don't care, but I care about my opinions now. I care about my own respect. And I don't take being disrespected when I don't deserve it as an answer anymore. You know, so I've started creating that mindset within myself just by going through and stressing myself out. Again, in a healthy
It's just
way.
like setting little goals for you to overcome.
Yeah. Like, even shit like, because I'll go to the gym and some days I'm just not there to, like, not fully in for the lift. But I'm in. I got to get something out of going to the gym. Whether even it's just 2 exercises. You know, I'm going to squat today. Like, what day was it? I took a deload week this week, so I went a little easy, but I went super easy on, like, it wasn't Saturday, Friday. I think it was Friday. I went super easy on Friday, and I was like, okay, I have like 7 exercises I really need, like, I had planned to hit. I only hit 2 of those exercises, but I fucking went hard on those 2 exercises, and I went, my body is telling me this is where I have to stop for today. Like, if I go any further, it's not going to be a benefit anymore. It's just going to be a mental stress. I'm going to be exhausted, and I'm not going to be feeling amazing. And I don't want to feel amazing all the time, but I'm like, I'm not going to be feeling, like, I'm going to be feeling like garbage.
I mean, you need those days where, like, you don't want to go, you don't want to do something, but you still do it just for, like, the consistency.
Yeah,
so, like,
that's exactly it.
Over time, like, it'll compound, and then you'll get to your goal eventually instead of, like, tapering off, and then you might miss 2 days because you tapered off one day, and then like it'll lead into a week or something. So
Yeah.
just going in, maybe you do cardio, core, or whatever those 2 workouts you have, and then you just keep it going the next day.
So there was, I want to say it was on Joe Rogan, and he was talking to this guy who was like, I used to hate going to the gym. It was so bad though that like I knew I needed to go,
Yeah,
but I couldn't. Like I just being at the gym just.
I think
so
we all know like we got to do that exercise, eat healthy, but it's just a matter of actually doing
it's
it.
just like finding the discipline to do it.
Yeah.
So this guy would literally go into the gym for like literally 5 minutes, do whatever exercise he did within 5 minutes, and leave. And what he started doing was he started callousing his mind to go to the gym. Right. He created that routine.
Getting used to that environment.
Even if it was 5 minutes. 5 minutes eventually turned into 10. And he was able to get a longer workout in. 10 turned into 20. 20 turned into 30. Now he was in for a full workout. Next thing you know, like it's become a consistent routine within his lifestyle now. And he hated to do it.
You got to start small though.
Yeah. If that's the case. Like for me, I jumped into it and I just forced myself to hunker in. Some people have to fucking tiptoe baby step, into it, and that's all fine and dandy. Like find your key word for me is flow state. Find your flow state. Your body's going to tell you, and you have to fight it sometimes. You have to stay rigid against it because your body's going to tell you to flow into comfortability.
Yeah.
Flow into uncomfortability, and when it gets too uncomfortable, that's when you flow back into like a comfort. But finding that flow and just being able to read it and write it the way you're supposed to is such a amazing feeling.
Yeah, just like sometimes when you're plateauing, like whether it's in like working out or whatever, you gotta make changes.
Yeah.
So that way it's like something new and it challenges you and it's like makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Like there's a quote that this guy I used to work out with said. He was like, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I love that quote, man, because how are you gonna expand your horizons? How are you gonna be a better person for yourself if you're not going to step out of a comfort zone?
And like in this world, like nothing ever stays exactly the same. There's always random shit that pops up.
Yeah.
So if you always want things to be exactly how it was yesterday, it's not going to happen.
Never.
So you just got to get used to those freak incidents, like someone's like your tire like popped or something, or like this happened or whatever. You just got to be ready for those moments.
Life is going to throw you curveballs, and if you're ready to fucking knock them out of the park, then you are one step closer to being set. But man, if you have no idea they're coming, like,
or even if you have no idea they're coming, but like you have a mindset of, okay, this happened, how do I fix this, or how do I go about it? Like if you're ready to take on the challenge instead of just being like, I don't know what to do and giving up.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like lately I've been cutting a lot of people who haven't been challenging me out of my life because they haven't been providing me with any benefit
or like value.
If anything, they've been on the opposite end of that, where they've been causing me a lot of toxin, detrimental like environment for me, and I don't need that. I need to cut. I've been cutting that out because, again, another quote that I really like. It's like, the boat only starts sinking while it gets inside of it, right? So like the boat floats on water, but doesn't start sinking until it actually gets through the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with like toxic people. Like they don't go, like it doesn't get to you unless you let it get within you and you let it take you over and you let it sink you. And there's a lot of truth to that. But if you are literally surrounded in a bubble of toxicity, it's a lot easier to let it seep through, right?
Yeah.
So what's the best way to go about that? For me, is cutting out where I can, recognizing there's some I can't, and then just putting the focus and putting the excess energy I have to combat that. But for the people I can, I will.
Yeah.
Because I don't have enough of that energy to spread out and hold a defensive guard on all fronts. It's just impossible.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing. I want to say at the start of the last year, where it's just like, I don't even know if it was like toxic people or just like there's certain friend groups we'd hang out, people would drink, and there'd just be like a messy situation no matter what. Like there's always some drama. I'm like, bro, I don't have mental capacity to like deal with this drama and then try to do all of my goals for the week. And then people are hitting me up about like all these different situations. I'm like, bro, I'm not doing this anymore. Like we got to either hang out and just not drink so nothing gets this messy, or we just don't hang out.
Yeah. No, dude, I've been literally, like I said, lately, and it's been getting so much better lately for me in terms of like, I used to just be so And this happened on one of my work nights where shit was just going south, and this one patron was just being very
Rude or
I want to use a reference, but I can't really. Well, I don't know if she'll ever watch this, but she reminded me of one of Chris's exes. You know which one.
Yeah.
During our Deanne's era.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of her. I don't get along with those types.
Yeah.
And she was just being so
into
she was
herself.
Never technically in the wrong. But the way she went about everything was just so sideways,
Like passive aggressive.
It wasn't even passive. No, it was just like she had her master's in psychology and she thought she knew. And so just because she didn't say or she wasn't, implying certain things or not implying, explicitly express certain things, her implications drew a lot of people to wrong conclusions. So she was very it was psychological warfare.
She just wishy-washy with her wording.
So there was an incident where I don't think anybody will watch this by this time, and if they do, they probably won't remember anyways. But there was this girl, she was talking to this dude, and there was an incident brought up where he just talked about his friend got shot or something like that, and she was trying to press on that, and they were starting to get into a heated conversation about it because he didn't want to bring it up. But she didn't bring it up because she doesn't even know the guy, and how would she know that his friend got shot, this and that? So she was playing that card, and I kept quiet. I just I'm not dealing with this. I'm playing Switzerland in this whole game. Yeah. This girl is just trouble. So she came over to my side of the bar where they weren't at, and she was trying to justify herself by it. She was like, "Was I in the wrong? I didn't ask him, but I pried." I'm I didn't ask him about his friend, but I was prying. I was but so then you knew though. In my head I was and I just kept quiet. And she knew I had opinions. She even called me out on it, and I just stayed quiet. I just pled the fifth on that. But she was yeah, I feel like you have some opinion about this. And I was I'm just watching football.
Yeah.
I'm just, don't mind me. I heard it all. And I heard it all. I'm just not going to acknowledge it. And then she started getting on me, and she started it was very passive aggressive how she was going about it, and I just was no, I'm not gonna slip into this. I'm not gonna play this game. You can try. I've dealt with someone like you before. They didn't have their master's in psychology, but they were on this level, so I get it. I know how to play this game. Just be quiet. Don't pay attention. And she was just being she was stirring up a lot of pots.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where she wasn't technically the cook stirring the spoon, but she provided it. She provided the spoon to let the pot stir. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was grabbing the guy's arm and twisting it around.
I mean, sometimes when people say those statements, they don't want you to pry about it. They're just letting
But that was the whole thing. It was if you knew it was uncomfortable, why did you keep prying?
Yeah.
Why are you prying to begin with? What's the whole point?
You could tell within the first question or two, if they're willing to move forward and explain what happened, or if they're just I don't want to touch this.
Yeah, it's why are you forcing their hand? And she was very good at this. She was very good at pushing the buttons that she knew how to push
to get what she wanted.
To get the reactions that were going to be the most catastrophic. She was very good at it. Very good. And that was one of the people, and I was just what you're saying, you're technically not wrong, but the way you're going about things
not the best,
making you a terrible person.
Yeah.
And let me use that word lightly because I don't really want to call her a terrible person. But in that instance,
she's just
I was
not pleasant.
this is not cool. It's a very uncool move, and you should recognize better. Why are you doing this to people?
Yeah.
And she again reminded me of that person, man, because she would speak on positivity and love and all this, but then at the same time she was causing a lot of people a lot of grief, anger, and
stress.
And it's just you're being hypocritical.
Yeah, where it's they preach positivity, but they don't actually live it out in their actions or what they say. It's
one of those things where it's very I would say egocentric or narcissistic, where they're I'm so positive, even though you're not positive, and you're causing all these problems, and you're throwing them on me, even though I'm the one that fed you that stuff to get you into this attitude and mood.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still positive over here. You can't kill my positivity. It was very centric, like self-centric, and it was.
They're just good at like painting other people as like the villain, even though they're the ones kind of like forcing the hands.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if I'm using this term. I never know if I'm using this. It's about like a gaslight, I think, is how I'd go about saying it.
I think so, yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just very mean. It was just I just wasn't about it. But I've dealt with something like that before, so I knew how to deal with it. But
just not give it any attention, yeah.
Yeah. But she was, like I said, she was trying to come at me for some dumb shit. And I was just like, no, you can say whatever you want. And I don't really care. I'll agree. I don't care. Like, I know what I'm about. So I had this friend who was, and even he's a lot of trouble too, but he was getting offended for me, and that's where a lot of the problems became.
Yeah.
I was like, you weren't upset by that? I'm like, no.
Or it's like, even if you were, you're like, I just don't care enough.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things is she asked if I was gay, and I was like, no, I'm not gay. She's like, are you sure? It's okay if you are, this and that. And I was like, well, I know it's okay if I am, but I know I'm not, so that's okay. And like, this guy overheard it, and he was like, what? And he just started, they're at the bar.
Yeah.
He just started blowing up. How dare you ask that? This and that. And I was just like,
bro, are you giving her attention? Yeah.
I was like, she could call me gay, but I know what I'm about.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about what she's saying about me, because if anybody knows me, the people know the real me, they know what I'm about. So I'm not worried that she's saying whatever she wants to say about me. It doesn't bother me.
Especially because you're not going to see her again. She has no impact on your life.
Yeah. She has, the moment I react, I give her power.
Yeah.
I don't need to give her any power. I don't need to give her any power to control over me. So, you know what? Let her be free. The people who know will know. The people who fall for it,
that's their problem.
they were never really my friends to begin with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One of those kind of things. So, yeah, and so like, okay, so that for an instance, that was very challenging. Well, that's a challenge, right? I start seeing things as obstacles or challenges, accessories, things that'll keep on making me like build more value. Wow, I dealt with that situation. Now I know how to deal with situations like that now. Or I could have dealt with it better now. And even in that, I was like, oh, I could have taken more lessons away from that. I should have stood up for myself more in certain areas. I should have spoken out more. I should have diffused the situation better.
Or like used this wording instead or something.
Mm-hmm. So it's minor tweaks like that. Same thing with, again, I'm pulling it into weightlifting now. Same thing with weightlifting. If I'm focusing, if I'm deadlifting, and I'm trying to pull the bar off the ground, and I have the strongest upper back in the world, but the bar won't move off the ground, it's something else in that chain of muscle groups that's not it. My upper back's on point, right? My lower back's on point. My quads are fine. Oh, but my glutes and my hamstrings are not. They're not on that level yet. So I need to get them on that level. So pulling it off the ground will be easier. You know what I mean? I need to start engaging my hips more. I need to tweak my form to make it feel more comfortable for me. I need to strengthen my lower back to keep my back straight better. I need to start doing sumos to hit the hips, right? Like, doing that is like, oh, those are the little tweaks I have to do to start becoming more and more of a high-value, well-rounded person that I want to see myself become. I was writing these notes down. It's in my wallet, actually, where I was like, I'm going to have to pull it up because it was kind of cute. This one? I have a lot of them. I spend 10 minutes at the bar and I just write down whatever's on my mind.
Like a journal, kind of?
Yeah. It's just like, okay, before I start work, let's get any thoughts that I've been festering with out on paper.
So then it doesn't ruin your night or whatever.
Yeah. And at the same time, I can write it out.
And be over it.
Yeah, exactly. Put it out there.
It's like checking your attitude at the door kind of thing.
Yeah, it is definitely like that. Where is it? Or it's just like, what what did I take out of today before I go into work? Like, what's something that I was thinking of that I felt like I needed to write down because it's very like prominent to me. So I was like, like becoming the next this character, anime character, or this, like using those references. Oh man, I can see a lot of comparisons to my life to like the Disney's Hercules movie, yada yada yada. Right? Like I'm in my training phase right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm not in my pre-time skip. I'm in the area where your time skip's going on. Like I'm in that training phase. It's my revenge arc kind of thing. But I was just listing a bunch of characters that I was like, those are amazing characters. You know what I mean? Like those are characters that are like, that would be the role models in this world kind of thing. And I was like, what is that to me? Like what makes them that role model? So I just started listing a bunch of adjectives that describe them. And I was like, man, I got to start using these, like not using these, but like the more I wrote it, I was like, man, I have to apply these to me. Like, how do I become more, like stronger? How do I become more independent? Like, what builds respect? What makes me respected? You know, how do I build my courage? What does it mean to become a leader? You know, how do I make myself a key asset wherever I go? You know, man, the gentlemen of the world are really cool because they have the badasses. They're fearless. The tycoons, like these are the people that I see are like that describe the characters that I'm like, wow, those are characters that if I was in that world or if they were in this world, that'd be someone I'd be like, yep.
You look up to, or like you try to be like.
Yeah, because I don't really look up to anybody. Like, there's no one person I'm like, yes.
I think you could take like a little bit from different people, but not everyone has like every single aspect together.
I don't know which ones though anymore. You know, it's maybe the little things. Like even at friend level, I'd be like, yeah, dude, like I like my brother's carefreeness, you know, but at the same time, he has a lot of other things that I don't need from that. But his carefreeness, amazing. But like the way he goes about it and how he makes friends and how he helps people at the gym, it's amazing. He's very helpful. He's very inviting. That's why, again, I think a lot of people should go to, not because my brother's there, but kind of, because he sets a very opening area for people to be like, you know, you're going to get stronger, you're going to lift, like, oh, what's your goal? We'll pinpoint it to that, but at the same time, he does his own work, you know. He's not going to go, I mean, I hear he talks a lot over there.
Oh, damn.
But yeah, it was like, oh, you know, stoicism, you know, someone who's a romantic, and I don't mean like, oh, they're so romantic, but like romanticism, romantic, right? Who have big, like expressive ideas. You know, someone that can generate an aura of security, like you're around them and you don't feel like you'd be, like I always want a group like that. If I want to, like, so it's like I have to apply this to myself, and then I have to find people who have this like-mindedness, you know, where it's like, okay, I like hanging out with these people because they create an aura of security around, like, for me.
And they make you grow.
Yeah. They challenge me because I want to be better than them. Not better than them, but I want to be better for them.
Yeah.
And they are my own challenges. They are the pillars I have to keep using to help make me grow.
It's like no one's trying to be the weakest link, so they're all trying to get better.
Yeah, and that's the best thing. Like I guarantee you, me and him go back and forth on like exercise stuff.
Oh, you and TJ?
Yeah, I think it's like, oh look, maybe it's just me. I'll say it's just me for sure. Like I know that for me. I look at him and I go, okay, I'm gonna one day just sneak up on like all of his strongest lifts, and then he's just be like, I'm gonna awaken that fire in him where he's gonna be like, I can't let my little brother outlift me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, that's one of my goals. It's really fucking petty, but at the same time, it comes from a place of endearment, because like either he doesn't give a shit, and he's just more than happy that I can lift heavy. Or he's like, all right, it's on. Yeah. And now we're just on this lift, like we're on our own little mini tournament of lifting. You know, someone who's trusted, responsible, genuine, you know, but confident too. That's one thing is like, I've been building so much more confidence, but at the same time, I don't know how to channel it the correct way. So like, I walk with confidence, but the moment something goes south, or like I feel like someone is gonna, you know, get upset with me, like I feel like it floods out sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I'm nothing. it's not that I'm nothing, but it's like, oh, I'm not as much as I thought I was, kind of thing. And it's
They're
like
like derails the level you're at before.
it's like that, like a Thomas Shelby. Like, have you seen Peaky Blinders? Or
No,
Peaky Blinders?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen
So
it.
the main character is just like just got this. A lot of their characters are really badass. They have like this stone coldness to them, where it's like, I dare you to spit in my face, or like, I dare you to try and fuck with me and watch what the fuck happens. Like, no second chances. Like, I'm trying to build myself to that, but on a smart level. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be like, okay, dare you to stick your finger in my face. I'm gonna fucking knock you out. Like, no, I'm gonna go about this in more of a respectful way. Not to you,
Where
not
people
respectful
like
to you,
respect,
but respectful to me.
yeah,
Where I still am respected on my actions, and at the same time, like, I will put you in your place.
yeah, where people
That is
respect you enough to
guaranteed.
not try you or know like
Yes.
to fuck with you.
See, and that's the thing, is I felt like a lot of people don't try me because it was like I was too soft, you know, I was like too much of a teddy bear. And now I'm trying to turn into a fucking grizzly bear where no one's gonna try me because they are afraid. Not afraid, but it's like the fear of God kind of thing. Like, don't spark it.
Yeah,
I will put that fear in you. We'll be best friends throughout, but the moment you set off the wrong shit, like, the fangs, claws come out, you know. So what was I put here? Like proud, cunning. I think of like hero types a lot in these. Like Odysseus, amazing guy. Like, he could be a fake fictional character, but he could also be based on real, right? The Odyssey has a lot of supernatural elements to it, but like, if you look at what the story is trying to preach, like, a guy is on his way. Maybe have I told this before on the podcast? Maybe
yeah.
A while ago. But like, a dude, this guy is like the bro you want.
Yeah,
Like, Trojan War, the Trojan War starts, and homeboy calls him up and is like, I need homies to come through, and we about to wreck shit up. I need to get my wife back. This and that. Like, shit went south. We need to fucking handle it. And he goes, bet. I'm on my way. It has nothing to gain from this war.
yeah.
And he's just like, oh, you need a boy? I got you. We're coming for you, brother. You know? Fucking wins the war, and then gets cursed by Poseidon. And this is when it gets it from the Iliad to the Odyssey. Did you ever go to...
No,
And this is the transition from the Iliad to the Odyssey, where it's like, okay, you know, he's been condemned by Poseidon because Poseidon was rooting for the other side of the war to be victors, and he was the sole reason why they won. And now he's going through this journey to just go back home to his wife and to his kingdom and to his people, and it's just how he does it. You know, he has his men, loses them, has to go through the sirens, has to fight Polyphemus, who is the Cyclops. Like, he goes through all these trials and tribulations, has to go through the Charybdis and I forget what the other disasters, but goes through like gods and disasters left and right. You know, the only help he gets is from Athena, right? The goddess of wisdom, wisdom in battle, and she comes to usually hero types anyway. So yeah, that was like as much help as he was getting until he got back to his place. Yeah. At the same time, his wife is getting hit up by a bunch of suitors because they all think he is dead.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, like, little love story in between too, because, you know,
she's still waiting for him.
She fends off these suitors
because she knows he'll come
he's
back.
alive
Yeah.
still, and he will come back one day. And he does, and he comes back to slay the suitors because, you know, they were all being slimy, weird fucking creeps. And
Yeah.
And it's such a well-written story by Homer. I'm so glad that it was like introduced in high school.
Where
But
they
I
made
feel
us
like
read,
people
yeah.
don't recognize how good of a read it is, because I feel like a lot of people.
I mean, they probably just read it because they had to, but they didn't really like get into it or like.
Well, I'm very guilty of this because I actually reread it in college.
Okay.
I had to, but in high school I just spark noted the shit out of it. I didn't get anything out of the spark notes. I was getting like the
summary the
romanticistic aspect of it, of how much he actually wanted to go home. All he's trying to do is fucking get his way back home. You know, fighting through, like, literally tricking, being cunning, deceiving, and doing whatever he can to get back to his place. You know, There's a lot of I mean that's why they call it an odyssey now. Like that's why it's a coined term, right? Going through this trials and tribulations of an adventure, and he becomes a better man for it. Love is tested in this story. A man is literally put against his will. A woman's love is tested, right? Her trust and her loyalty is tested. This guy's
to see if she'll like go with one of the suitors or wait. Yeah.
The belief in each other that, you know, they're gonna have each other's backs. All part of the game plan. It's very romantic. Very much in those it's like Shakespearean. It's more of a comedy than it is a tragedy.
Yeah.
But I mean it's not Shakespearean, so I guess that doesn't really fit the script.
Yeah, because
Yeah, so a comedy is what, when people get married? Something like that? Do you know? I know tragedy is like death is involved, or it's like not a happy ending. But I don't think comedy necessarily dictates it.
Is it supposed to be like joy?
I don't remember. So like Romeo and Juliet, that's definitely a tragedy.
Yeah.
I don't know what a comedy would be. I think we're more delved into like tragedies, and it's just easier to write a tragedy. I feel like the sad endings are more realistic. Unfortunately, like that's the realism, but I feel like at the same time, the optimism in me is like always makes you. I guess that's what makes you a romantic, though.
Always thinking that there's going to be a happy ending or things will work out.
Well, it's even in the face of
diverse
the odds stacked against you of it being a tragic ending, you still hold on to the idea that
it'll flip.
You can and you will make it flip. And not just you solely, but you have that belief that like
you can garner enough people or whatever.
It's glass half full. You know what I mean? It's that optimistic. Like I'm not surprised if the odds will stack against me in my favor, and that is the ultimate decision. But at the same time, there's still a chance. At the same time, it still may be, and I'm not going to give up on that thought. You know, it's very much of an MC trait, a main character trait, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the odds are not in my favor.
Just like Naruto trying to be Hokage, there's just so many obstacles from where he starts.
Exactly.
But he still holds on to that belief that he'll make it happen.
And he does, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, right? He has his mind made up on this idea that he will. And I think that's a beautiful thing about Naruto in that sense, is like everyone else was like,
they didn't really have
Hokage
a goal.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
You know, but like the amount of mental fortitude Naruto had in becoming the Hokage was so just like fixation.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
He was like obsessed, yeah.
He's like, he didn't even become a Chunin. Did he become a Chunin? He didn't become a Jonin, right?
Yeah.
Because that was like part of the thing. He like was a Chunin.
He wasn't even a Chunin when I don't even know if he was a full Chunin when he was in the war.
I think he was.
Okay.
And then he had to it was like, he had to graduate to become a Jonin before he became Hokage. So like they
made him do a hella test and stuff.
They did like a flash forward thing, and it was just like scenes of him just studying hella books and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know. But exactly though, but you know, he didn't choose the ordinary path.
He just knew what the end goal was.
Already crazy as shit. And the premise started off with the whole entire village hated this guy.
Yeah.
Didn't know why, but
they knew.
Kind of knew.
Yeah.
But he didn't know why. He didn't know why he was hated. But he was like, I'm still gonna be the Hokage of this motherfucker. I don't give two shits. Like, I am dead set on this goal. It's gonna become reality. And everyone else was just like, I feel like everyone else who wanted that did not want it like that. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where he was like...
And I don't think any of the other characters really had goals like that. Like, later on, there's other side characters, but in, like, when the show first starts, none of the people his age really had goals like that.
Well, that was the thing. I think that was, like, the polarizing character of Sasuke, too, was, like, his goals were less long-term and more...
short-term
They
satisfaction.
were more direct, like, I'm going to get back at my brother. I don't see the bigger picture quite yet, but I know he was the cause of my current pain, and I'm going after him because I want to get vengeance on this pain he has caused. You know, now that his brother passed away, what's next? I'll probably join the Akatsuki because he was part of the Akatsuki, and now that the picture has unraveled itself, I know what he was about, and I'm going this path. All right, now what? Now he's fighting in the Shinobi War because everyone's allied together and this and that. And still, at the end, he still tries to create himself to be a villain type character, you know. And it's all based on like a lot of the pain that he's caused. He's trying to push people away. And Naruto has welcomed a lot of people into his hearts. It's really touching. It's really touching in the story. It's like those two characters have that polarization to it, and everyone hates on Sakura, and I think that's always super funny because it's like, oh, she chose Sasuke. How dare she? But I mean, it's one of those things. I think a lot of women have that like perspective. They like the bad boys. They like the guys that.
Or they think they can change him.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, he can change and he will change, and this is just a phase. But like, it's kind of hot that this is a phase. And at the same time, you get the Naruto types that kind of get burned by this because they're just all about trying to like. Well, he was so fucking goal oriented, and you know he would try and pay every girl every attention. Yeah. And Sasuke didn't do shit, and I think that's where it became like this little thing, right? And I mean, if you look like Naruto and Hinata's like thing was a lot more wholesome, compared to like Sasuke and Sakura's. It's like in Boruto, you're like, they seem like an odd couple. Like they seem like an odd couple now still. Like Hinata and Naruto is like, oh, that's a very loving, endearing household, you know. So it's a lot. There's a lot of beauty in. Einstein actually quoted this. He was like, if you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, read them more fairy tales. And there's so much truth to that because how much does that unlock your imagination? I just feel like I'm rambling today. How much does that unlock like your imagination?
And I think kids already have like a good amount of imagination, so it just opens it up even more.
Yeah, and I think what it becomes more of is like it's less of like expanding a kid's imagination and more of like what we do, especially school, is it just retains and restrains their imagination more and more. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it just like it's alright. But it just takes this box that has no lid, and slowly the lid just starts closing and closing as people get older and older and start getting told what to do and how things are done and why things are why.
Or what's possible, what's not.
Yeah. When people start realizing that things... Or when people start
Or were they just accepting it, yeah.
When people start to believe and accept that possibility, like that something might not be possible, if they believe that, it's not if it's true, but if they believe that, then it just limits themselves that much more.
Yeah, then they become like everyone else who's already accepted it.
Yeah. I feel like, and that's why you challenge yourself.
Or you got to have that mindset. It's never too late.
Yeah, well, animes always have like great little punchlines, like exceed, like surpass your limits, or like plus ultra, right? Like go beyond, like break past the parameters you think you're fitting yourself into. Well, I think it's like a perfect time to like start putting it up. But yeah, I think that's been the biggest premise of this episode. It's just like I've been very happy, like as much as I've been tired and like really pushing myself, just getting challenged in multiple ways. But I think that's what creates a lot of growth in people and a lot of growth, and really starts, adding value to who you are as a person, or just adds value to what you are, who you are, and how you are. Yeah, I like this episode. I don't care if I was rambling too much.
I think it was pretty... There was like a theme throughout the whole thing, so I think it was fine.
Yeah. It felt like a little bit bouncy, but I think it tied in pretty well together. So on that note, it's your boy Maui.
And it's Bambi.
This is Couch Surfing.
Peace.